You're watching the CG Live podcast. Now, the content for these podcasts are a little bit different than our normal pods as we bring on members and do long-form interviews. These were actually recorded live at our events with members that were going on stage to present, so the content is killer. Enjoy the show. Welcome back into the Collective Genius podcast. I am at our Q1 event here in Dallas, Texas, CG Premier and our CEO rooms. There's over 300 real estate investors across the United States that came here to get better. And I've got one of our members that I have watched and very proud of his growth as a real estate investor, as a Collective Genius member, Mr. Shadi Tamimi. Welcome in, my friend. Good to see you. Yes. So this young man has done so many great things in a short amount of time in his life, but also with his business and giving back. And we'll talk about all those things. But let's start with this. Where do you operate out of, and what type of business, real estate investing business, do you run?
Yeah. So out of Orlando, Florida. Most of the deals that we do are actually wholesaling and novations, about 75% of our revenue, and about 25% flips. Just really cherry picking the best deals out there that we can make at least $50,000 to $60,000 on to flip.
Okay. So Central Florida, very competitive. You do go into some areas that maybe some of the not the big metros. Was that something that out of the gates when you started in this business, you said, you know what? Everyone wants Miami, or everyone wants Jacksonville. Maybe even everybody wants the leads in my backyard in Orlando. Did you specifically choose some of these Central Florida areas that may be a little smaller for that very reason?
Initially, I didn't.
Okay.
Initially, I was actually looking for all the metros. So about 4 or 5 years ago, we were in Orlando, Jacksonville, Tampa, Atlanta. It was all virtual.
Yeah. All institutional buyer markets too.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly why we went to Georgia. So it was great while it was there.
Take advantage of it.
Yeah, exactly. But we didn't even actually have a business at the time. It was just kind of like throwing out leads and just locking up as many as we could. Then we tightened down. We started focusing a little bit more on Orlando and Tampa. We just knew the markets really well. Wanted to do a little bit more in-house appointments because everything was phone appointment, and the ratios were about 10 to 1. We really wanted to cut that down. And so we actually looked at Ocala as an affordability market, because in Orlando right now, median house prices were maybe $250 or so a couple of years ago. Now you're looking around $350 to $400.
Sure.
So Ocala was a market where you're still around the median price of $200,000 or $250. And so we started focusing on manufactured homes, which no one talks about. Everyone's always frowning upon them. Of course, I'm talking about manufactured homes where you own the land, not lot rent. And so we started marketing a little bit more to those in Ocala. Big market for them. A lot of owner occupants trying to retire and just buy a place without any mortgage, HOA, etc.
Well, it's obviously paid off for you, and you adjust. We all know as real estate investors, those watching and listening to this, you had to adjust as the market, take what the market gives you. You've clearly done that. Central Florida, over roughly 100 deals a year that you're doing. So you've got things moving in the right direction. I know that you're big on culture. You're big on your team. So that obviously has worked out for you. You are here presenting. You just actually presented in one of our breakout rooms. In that particular breakout rooms, we were really focusing on fallout. So for this week, what I've really been focusing on with our members is really 4 things that I keep hearing from our members. And those 4 things that people are really dialing in, no matter where their business is, whether it's a CEO level, premier level, select member, elevate level member, everyone has said, you know what, I really need just to get back to the basics of making sure I'm getting leads, right? Whether that's outbound or inbound, I got leads. And then it's making sure that I get appointments. Right. In person or virtual. In person, obviously, is something that a lot of people understand that's a higher conversion rate. Third thing is getting contracts, right? How many appointments do you need to get a contract? And really trying to make sure that that number is a high close rate, like 30%, right? I hear those type of numbers being turned around. If I'm doing 10 appointments, I get 3 contracts a week, right? And the last one is what you presented on, which is after you get that contract, making sure that contract closes. So it's one of the 4 things I'm really focusing on from a pain point standpoint. People can't grow businesses unless they're doing deals, obviously, and part of doing deals is get to the closing table.
Exactly.
So you presented on that and how you've changed your fallout rate because when you were a virtual business, you more than likely had more fallout rate. What did you share upstairs that you can let the audience know that how you have changed that?
Well, so a lot of people really focus on the marketing, lead generation, like you said, appointments, contracts, all those ratios. No one talks about how what really matters is the revenue that comes in. And there's one really, really important part, which is the fallout rate, like you mentioned, that we need to make sure that we minimize so that we don't have any gaps, major gaps, after all the effort that we put into the deal.
Sure.
So it really came down to the standards in our company. We've noticed that there was just, everyone thinks that fallout rate's high, so that means my disposition reps are doing bad. In reality, I love our disposition reps. 2 ladies on our team, they do a phenomenal job at selling. And so when we first saw the fallout rate was so high, it was instantly to blame them, right? That's what the whole the acquisitions team, why aren't you closing the deals that we're bringing you and such? But in reality, the gaps that came from lead management and acquisitions all resulted into the pain that we had last year with our fallout rate being more than 50%.
What were the gaps? You mentioned gaps there.
So gaps wise, we had on the acquisition side expectations with the seller.
Okay.
Just let them know like what different, if we're going to pitch novation, for example, we would just kind of pitch it in the same way as a cash deal, but then kind of slide in there that we're listing on the MLS, which doesn't work. Being fully transparent with the seller, making sure that they truly know what we're doing from step 1 to step 10. So what we actually implemented was in our contracts on DocuSign, or if they go in person, there's a 2-page contract and then the novation addendum and disclosures. They actually have to check and initial all the boxes that say, I understand my home is being listed on the MLS. I understand the offer charm is not purchasing my property, etc. And on top of that, there's a flowchart that we have. Contract signed, what happens next, so on and so forth. And that way, anytime the seller ever has a question of what's going to happen next, they can go back to that flowchart and see where they are.
It's so important. This is something that seems obvious, but, just to repeat, I think we've talked about this a little bit on some other pods here this week. Sellers, this is the largest transaction. This is the largest asset that they generally own in their life. And maybe they'll sell a house 1 to 3 times in a lifetime.
Right.
We do this every day. People are doing 10 to, some people in this room are doing 100 deals a month, right? We do this all the time. But when you start saying things like novation and contracts and disclosures and all that stuff, that's not something that's not a world that they live in. And so, you're solving. That's what we should be focused on. Right. Solving the homeowner's issue, the problem that and serving the seller. And part of serving the seller is disclosing, and making sure they understand the process. So that was that gap right there, just disclosures. That was the main one that you targeted. Was there any others?
There was definitely some more. So contract quality, again, it was just, you try your best to keep the culture strong in your company and keep the team motivated. And so one thing that we made a big mistake on last year was anytime a contract would get signed, we would just celebrate that with the acquisitions. Contract signed, here it is, posted on the group chat. And that way we just, oh, great job, awesome job, 3 contracts that day. Well, how many of them actually closed?
Right.
How many do we actually receive revenue from?
Right. That's like celebrating in the first quarter when the game's not over.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, that was the biggest problem that we did on our team is no one would look back and see what the quality of those contracts were. And if we see that there's a trend, for example, with an acquisition now where they sent us 5 contracts and 4 of them were, rejected, then at that point, let's go look back at your sales process. Let's see if you're following the process or if there's any sales skills that are missing and fix those ahead of time. Thankfully, we never had a problem with our sales skills to the point where we had such a big rejection rate. But just bringing that up where they know that they're going to be held accountable to the contract before it's actually approved really changed the way that they negotiate and their perspective. And one really big sales conversion thing that we've done as well is I always remind the acquisitions, I love to ask them in the huddle, what is it that you're focusing on today? The main thing that they always say is to get a contract. And that's the wrong answer.
What's the right answer?
Serving the seller. If you serve the seller properly, the contract will come in. And that's the biggest thing we focused on. Like literally the day I'd said it in the huddle for the first time, and I asked them this every once in a while, and I switch it up so that they can catch on to the answer. And they're always coming back to the contract. And when I come back and talk to them about serving the seller comes first, etc., all of a sudden that week they've gotten some contracts from, let's say maybe the week before they weren't generating and hitting their numbers. So it's really just a mindset shift, and that relates to our core values again about being intentional, greatness, guidance, and so empathy. So for example, if you're really focusing on that contract, where's the empathy and where's the intention?
Right. It'll serve you and your people well when you serve others.
Right.
This is what we think about, how we as people usually deal with salespeople. Like, we always think, okay, man, that I'm just another commission check or a sell for that salesperson. When you truly go in with the intention of building trust because you are there to truly serve that individual and solve a challenge that they currently have, whether that's through your process of purchasing or making sure that you are referring them out to someone that can truly help them if the solution isn't you.
Right.
When we operate like that as an industry, we serve at the highest level, right? We, as an industry, too many people think of us another way. But if more of us operate in that sense, I'm saying this to everyone that's listening to this, if you serve your sellers, everyone in this industry will be looked at in a different light. And I think that's something that we talked about from the main stage yesterday with all the regulations and things like that coming down. If you're not going in to serve someone, then you probably should be looking at something else to do. That goes for retail as well.
Right.
If you're not going in to if you're not going in to serve a seller from a retail, wholesale, fix and flip perspective, then you're doing this wrong. You're doing it for the wrong reasons.
You won't last long.
No,
you won't last long. You can't scale it at that point. And I mean, think about how many people you're impacting on your team. I mean, this is something that I heard about 2 weeks ago. And it's about every single one of your employees should know how many people they're actually impacting with every action that they take. So for example, a lead manager thinks that they're just impacting, bringing in a contract. And they just think of that shallow, right? It's just their day-to-day thing and they're in the tunnel. But in reality, lead managers is impacting the marketing team and their success. They're impacting the acquisition, their success, dispositions, themselves.
Sure.
And then most importantly, the seller and their family as well. So, and then of course, if it's being flipped, then the family that's buying the home.
Yes.
So the amount of people that you're actually impacting by your actions. Yeah.
The neighbors that because this asset has been fixed by someone. All right. Now the property values for that neighborhood continue to go up. It's beyond just being the director of first impressions for your organization. That's where and I love that about you, that you're at your age to understand the bigger picture and to be able to shine the light on that for your employee. That's leadership. That's true leadership when it's just you get pigeonholed into this role of I'm just a lead manager and my job is just to, smile and be director of first impressions over the phone to the individual that's calling us. No, we're impacting and changing our neighborhoods one house at a time.
Right.
You're solving someone's true problem that going back on the other side, this is their largest asset, right? And it could be their largest nightmare as well financially if not handled correctly. So serve. It will always serve you well and you will last a long time like this young man. Go ahead.
I was just going to say a little story that I actually had. I always think about the story. This is something that actually started when we first opened the company. There was this one seller that she wanted to sell her townhome. Her daughter lived in the home and she was going through foreclosure actually from the HOA. So the balance was pretty low. I think it was like $12,000 or so.
Minimal considering.
Yeah. And no mortgage, just the HOA foreclosure. She had cancer. She lived in another state. I forgot which state exactly. And her daughter wasn't cooperating and such. So we actually helped her daughter find a new home. And she said, just give me $1,000. So like $12,000 for the HOA. Give me $1,000 and I'm good. I just need some food. I need some money for some food. That was the whole seller's focus. I ran the numbers. It was still a good deal for us, even if we offered her $40,000. And that's what we did.
Good.
And so she's like, "Oh no, you're wrong. I just said I need $1,000." I said, "Great, and I'd love to offer you $40,000." And she was just asking why, and I just said, "Well, I'm going to win in this transaction. Just to be completely transparent. I'm going to fix up the home. I will make a profit, but why would I make a little bit more money and leave you with $1,000 when I can help you as well?
Right. Do the right thing.
Now, the crazy thing is, this gives me, every single time I think about it, I get goosebumps. 6 months later, I get a random text from the seller. And she calls me, and she just, a text, sorry. And she sends me a thank you message. And she said, because of the money that you've given me, I am in better health. I've stressed less. And I am now cancer free.
Oh, man. Love that.
And it just really shows you the impact that you can give on people. Just making sure that you're serving them first, not just yourself.
And still be profitable.
Yep.
Yeah, amazing how that works, man. I love hearing those type of stories. You came here and you come to Collective Genius. You're someone that is promoted from Select into Premier. Obviously, you've built your business. CG has helped with that, I'm sure. But you are involved. Obviously, you can't just come and show up and expect everything to be solved. Right. You came to this meeting with some challenges as well. You from the stage, you had some challenges that you wanted to address. What are some of the first of all, what was the problem, and what is some of the feedback that you were able to receive
at the presentation?
Correct.
So at the presentation, I mean, the biggest thing for us was just showing that vulnerability. I mean, not a lot of people like to show off about how great they're doing,
of course,
and no one likes to open up about what they've done wrong. And my biggest focus when I wanted to present to the audience was just what we had going wrong last year, how we thought about it and perceived that information, and then what decisions we made afterwards. Because in the end, I'm not going to be the only one in that same position.
Right.
I had some people walk up to me saying, I'm in the same place as you. How did you go through this? And so helping people figure out how I came up to the solution is really what's going to be able to help another 10, 20, 30 people in the audience. And then some takeaways that we had was just, just give back, of course. And then my biggest ask there as well was just learning more about TV.
So I heard some of the feedback that you received from that. Was there one that you're like, okay, that makes total sense? That'll save me right now. Just that one comment will save me time and money.
Yeah.
Considering that you asked for people that had experience with television, was there one answer that you're like, all right, I need to have a follow-up conversation with that individual so I know exactly what not to do?
Definitely. So I feel like it's just really easy for you to dump money for TV and just pray that that works. But
yes.
A lot of people mentioned about the creative being really the most important part, really. So my biggest focus after this is going to be talking to them about what kind of creative they've seen in their markets. It may not work in my market, but I'd love to see what they had going well and what wasn't going well. And just, figuring out that expert in my area that can help me create the right creative. Instead of me trying to figure out how, why not just find who?
No doubt about it. I will, for those that are listening and watching, most of you know that, from a marketing standpoint, we really talk about a three-legged stool here at the Collective Genius, right? There's all sorts of different ways to drive leads. Cold calling is, something that a lot of people have grown their business from, right? Well, as you start to grow your business into, you get to a point where you start to need inbound. And we know that tried and true, direct mail, PPC, television are the three main sources that most people graduate to this level and beyond because they do those things well. It doesn't mean they work right out of the gates. Here's the biggest advantage of being in a room like this. When you presented and you were on stage and you asked for help with television, the first thing that I immediately thought of is I was recording a podcast with Pat Martin while you were just before you were about to go on stage.
Wow.
And right in front of that camera, he said, television was something that has changed the game for us. And he goes, it was 3 months in and we were like, we are wasting our money on this. But they kept auditing. Auditing is a word I've heard a lot here, which is awesome to hear because you have to now. It's not 2020. It's not 2021. You have to be better. No, it's not the market's not the star. You have to be the star and your team has to be the stars. And he goes, 6 months in, we realized, where we needed to tweak things, how we needed to do, but we knew that the return was going to be, he goes, every 3 leads from television results in 1 contract.
That is amazing.
He goes, it's their highest level conversion. So I say that to say this. When you're in a room like this, how is a conversation with an individual like that for you that's just about to start, that someone that's been doing it and is now their number 1 conversion source, right? The level of conversation you can have with him that he's just gone through this you are not going to get anywhere else. You might have some conversation with somebody over the phone, but you can go have lunch with Pat right now or Coburn, his ops manager, and simply go through, hey, tell me how you started. That's the difference of the blueprint of wasting and throwing and burning a lot of money and trying to figure it out, and having a blueprint from someone that just did. So you need to make sure that when you're done with this pod today, that you go and connect with Pat or Coburn, and maybe Coburn, because he's probably involved more in the day-to-day on the operations or COO side. So I would encourage you to have that conversation.
First thing I'll do.
Yeah. That's the power of this room. You've felt this, that power of this room for a couple of years now. What has this group meant to you?
There's a long list I can give you, but I'll say this. I joined beginning of 2024, and I felt in 2023 when you and I had our first initial call, I had a business, we had contracts, but I felt lost. And I felt alone. It's not that I was the only one doing it in Orlando, but just finding a true community that I can go give back to and ask for advice from. I just didn't know that they existed until I went to CG and met Sharper as well from Collective Genius, which completely impacted our business because of it, tenfolds. And I just recommend to everybody that's a real estate investor or any industry, find that community and that mastermind that you can really be a part of. That's there not to just pitch you a bunch of courses or whatever it is, but really give back to you. Everyone here is more than open about their business, about what they're doing and what they're not doing. And all the conversations I had yesterday and today, it's just amazing how many people are willing to share what they have, and just to make sure that you don't fall in the same mistakes that they did.
Love it. Best way for people that if they want to follow you or reach out to you, social media, where can they find you?
Social media, Instagram, Shadi Tamimi _. And you can always email me, Shadi, SHADI, @offercharm.com.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for the value that you gave from the stage today. You got another day and a half here of learning and opportunities to connect. I love when I see members that come in from Select into Premier and naturally fit in the room and then make a bunch of new contacts that you didn't have at that Select level. I promise you this, Shadi's a great just a great follow, somebody that does this right with the right integrity and is the true, is a reflection of the type of members that we look for from a culture standpoint, someone that does this business right. Thank you. Appreciate you, my friend.
Honored to be here.
This is the type of person that you want to be in the room with. The easiest way to get in this room, we'll say it and we'll continue to say it, explorecg.com. There you'll find our application. You'll also find all of the tiers that we offer if you're a full-time real estate investor. Maybe you're just ready for Elevate and you're just doing a couple deals. You need to double that deal flow. Or you've got a business that's stuck and you're maybe doing 30 to 100 deals a year and you need some help to get over that top. That's our Select level membership. And then Premier, these are people doing over 100 deals a year, usually have a full team. These are people that are tried and true. These are the best of the best. And then when we get to the best of the best, we're talking about $10 million businesses above. That's our CEO level group. If you're in any of those, we've got a room for you. explorecg.com. That's where you'll find our application. Love to talk to you on the other side. Also, want to thank you for continuing to listening and watching the Collective Genius podcast. That's it for this one. We'll see you on the next Collective Genius podcast.
Are you ready to scale your real estate business? Visit explorecg.com, where real estate investors come to scale. Subscribe to the Collective Genius podcast and hit the bell icon to be notified when our next episode releases. And thanks for listening. This podcast is for informational purposes only. Past performance does not guarantee future results, and the opinions expressed by the hosts and participants are their own. The Collective Genius is not liable for any direct, indirect, consequential, or other damages resulting from reliance on the information shared in this podcast.